Welcome to our top posts. Your not so unique dose of Reddit. Smiley face. r/ProRevenge. Boss blocks my promotion. I block his job. My boss blocked me from being promoted for selfish reasons. I blocked him from getting a position at another company he applied to where I was the boss. For background, I work in a very competitive part of the service industry. It's a large enough community, but at the same time it's small enough where someone somewhere in the industry knows you, so it's important to not burn bridges, as one day you might find yourself in a disadvantageous position. I was in my position for a good 3 years as middle management. No callouts, never late, always stayed after to help my team out, worked on projects that belonged to my bosses, etc. Except for one day which I had gotten in a car accident. I was working the night shift, and it was raining. This is important later in the story, and was unable to go into work as my car was undrivable, and I had to wait for tow truck, insurance, and trying to find a ride late night/early morning was very difficult. At the time, my director had been let go, and there was a bloodbath, pissing contest to see who would get his promotion. For hierarchy purposes it's my director, my direct bosses all on same level of authority, 3 of them, then me. One of the direct bosses, let's call him Dick, decided he was getting the promotion and started shaking our department, restructuring projects, changing people's shifts, taking credit for other people's work. He was a real pain. About a few weeks of this, he had decided to switch me from morning shifts, which I had gotten due to my seniority in the team, into night shifts. I didn't make a stink, because we were very short-handed, also important, and the team needed help as we had newer members who had children, and I understood how this could affect their life. Fast forward a few more weeks and I get into the car accident which made me call out. This didn't sit well with him as I had made the team suffer because of my irresponsibility. Lol, what? I didn't think much of it, since I knew it was stressful and people tend to say things they don't mean under stress. Soon after that I met some higher ups from another department. They offered me a job in a new venture the business was exploring. I was a good candidate because of my experience and work trays. Of course I agreed, as this would be a promotion in position and salary, plus my network of contacts would put me in a position to grow even further. I went through a series of interviews, 3 in total, and I was given the opportunity to take the position. I signed my paperwork and shook the hand. A couple of days later HR called me saying the position was rescinded, and that it shouldn't come as a surprise. I was shocked and asked for a meeting to understand the decision. Cue the day of the meeting. I walked in, and HR is sitting in the meeting room with Dick. After the cordialities, Dick explains that he blocked my promotion because I had attendance issues, which I had one call out due to my accident, and HR chimed in saying this shouldn't deter me from applying again in 6 months. Lol, okay. I accepted defeat because I still needed my job and I didn't want to paint a target on my back. A couple of days later a friend of mine that worked close to Dick had told me Dick had made the comment that he didn't want to let me go because I would leave the night shift uncovered and no one would easily accept that shift. I was furious, but decided to not act on it. As I explained earlier, it's a small enough business. A few months later the competition opened up close enough that a few people left to go there. I was one of them. I was hired by an amazing boss who I'm still friends with years after. He offered me a great position and a huge raise in salary. For hierarchy purposes it was my boss then me, and my counterpart then our assistants. I had heard through the grapevine that Dick had gotten rejected from the director position and was leaving the company. About a week or so later I was looking at new hires with my boss to fill out my counterpart position. My boss calls me and says, "Hey, look, this guy comes from the company you came from." To my delight I saw Dick's name. I had been hiring people to the assistant positions from previous company, so I guess Dick thought he was next. I told my boss the story about Dick and how he blocked my promotion. All my boss said was TBNT, thank you but no thank you. We didn't even give him an interview. Looking back at it, we should have given him the interview and just said no. It would have made it sweeter. Like I said before, don't burn bridges if your industry is small. Now you're evicted legally. I'm a landlord. I rented a house to a well-to-do lady, and instead of the lady moving in, her sister and her crackhead sister's crackhead boyfriend moved in. It was going fine until the sisters got in a fight and well two sisters stopped paying rent. I went to the house and explained to them now it is time for them to move. Let's just shake hands and go our own way. I even offered them $500 if they were out by the weekend and the place was broom clean. You got to evict me legally, the boyfriend said. Alright then. On maintenances, calls in the previous months I had always seen a crack pipe laying around somewhere. I don't get involved in my tenants' personal lives, so I just let it be. A couple of mornings after my tenants refused to leave I put a notice in their mailbox, dated from the day before telling them that I was going to enter the house to do maintenance. I showed up at 8 AM and knocked on the door, no answer. I used my key to open the door and I saw the crack pipe on the coffee table. I closed the door and then called the sheriff. A half an hour later, as my tenants were in handcuffs and the male tenant was being put in the squad car, I told him now you're evicted legally. As it turns out they both had warrants and their families came and got all their stuff. I have the house ready to rent in about 3 days. Purple porch pirate. What's better than calling the cops on your sweet little old neighbor's heroin addict grandson for stealing your Amazon package? In July, my elderly neighbor had her grandson and pregnant girlfriend move in to help them out. She is a widowed lady in her 70s. Babbles a lot, but sweet. I have a soft spot for her. Years ago, she cornered me as I was leaving to take my dog on a walk. My dog was unhappily pacing waiting for the walk while we listened to her stories. He peed on her during the story. She is so senile she didn't notice. Just a few days later, I'm mowing my backyard and the grandson walks past my house carrying an Amazon envelope. Weird. An hour later, sweet little old lady comes over with the envelope her grandson had. This was in my landscaping. Totally forgot I ordered my kids the movie Leap. What a shithole for this kid. See, I'm a criminal defense attorney. Probably the only one this lady knows. If I call the cops, my neighbor will try to hire me. It will get weird. She is so sweet. I will be a witness. He is on probation, so he will sit in jail for a while. This will totally make me look like a snitch to my own clients in that same jail who are thieves, addicts, and burglars. It's bad personally and professionally, and it's not the biggest deal. So I filled up an Amazon box with purple rain powder that was ordered to my office. A dry dye that gets darker and spreads when it comes into contact with your sweat. That lasts a week on your skin. Think leaking pen times 50. Why? I want to shame him, and it won't come back on me. He's not gonna call the cops for stealing my crap. He isn't gonna tell his grandma he stole from me. And if it makes a mess in her house, it's still cheaper for her than hiring a lawyer and paying her grandson's court costs and fines. Yep, package was gone in 20 minutes. I walk past the home, screams of anger at the pregnant girlfriend. This shit won't come off, it's all over my grandma's house. Priceless. The following day I give him the head nod as he smokes a cigarette in a hoodie in July. He runs inside. Then I taught my kids to yell Smurf when we walk past. No snitching, just shame. Want to undercut me on a job by doing shady and poor work? Fine, just wait and see. I was an observer in this whole affair, but to say I didn't enjoy the hell out of it would be a lie. Company A did fencing / walls / barriers etc. Company A was ran by Bob. Bob was a real upstanding guy, took over the business from his father and really grew it into something big. Bob had an employee, Jake. Jake had been with Company A for quite a few years, but Bob and Jake always rubbed off on each other in the wrong ways. Bob always felt like Jake was the king of shortcuts and shoddy workmanship. When Bob took over the company from his dad, Bob applied more pressure on Jake to bring up the quality of his work or be let go. Eventually Jake got tired of the increased pressure and quit and formed his own fencing company called Company B. Here is where I come in. I started a job in a company providing business services to small to medium sized businesses in the area, and both Company A and Company B became my clients. This was several years after Company B had formed. From my outside viewpoint, Company A was that local company that's been around forever that does good quality work that you can trust, but they aren't going cheap. They never try to be cheap, but you can trust them. Company B was the young startup who was cutting corners and being competitive in every way possible, often by lying or misleading its customer. That's when Company C comes in. Company C was building a production facility in the area and wanted a wall with gates around its new production facility. This was going to be a big contract, and really the only two players in the area that could possibly do this job was Company A or Company B. This contract was worth a lot. If my memory serves me correctly, the job was somewhere near 7 figures. Company A and Company B went to go bid. Company B came in at like a 30% lower price point, and even though Bob tried to explain it wasn't possible for Company B to do the work that was promised at the price point that was given, of course money talks, and Company B got the contract. I remember Bob was furious. In his eyes he felt what Jake was doing was wrong. He didn't mind fair competition, but Jake's MO has always been way underbid, overpromise, rely on cost overruns to make a profit. Bob's opinion on business was a price is a price, and if he says he's going X for Y, he's going do X for Y, even if he loses money. It's how he was raised. Some time goes by, and Bob gets a call from Company C. They've apparently fired Jake and his company due to not being able to do the work required, and ask Bob if he can come in and fix the mistakes. Bob agrees and gets the job done. At this point Bob starts thinking he's gotta take Jake out. Jake is taking too much money out of his pocket. Bob comes up with the idea of buying Jake out. But Bob knows if he approaches Jake, regardless of what he offers to pay, Jake is going to say no. So Bob has got to be smart. Bob is talking to me about this doing 1-hour meetings. We had become quite close. And I tell Bob I bet there are lawyers out there who specialize in helping other companies acquire other companies. Bob asks me if I know of any. I don't, but I did have a client who specialized in business law who would be more familiar with this whole thing. I give Bob his contact info and Bob thanks me. Bob contacts the lawyer and tells the lawyer what he would like to do. The lawyer tells Bob a lawyer who used to work for him now works for a firm that specializes in mergers and acquisitions, and if Bob wanted to buy out Jake's company, he's confident this firm could get it done. Also, this firm was in the big city far away from their small community, so it's unlikely Jake would know what's truly going on. Bob contacts the firm and says he wants to buy out his competitor and would like to enlist their services. Now this is already getting a bit longer, so I'll get to the point. This firm ended up buying Jake's company, lock, stock, and barrel, and gave the company to Bob. All the while Jake was completely oblivious to the fact that his archenemy has just acquired his very own company. I recall Bob describing to me the day he walked into Jake's company with such delight. Bob was told he owned the company, Jake had been paid, and was expecting to meet the new owner of the company that pleasant Monday morning. Jake was given the title of general manager and was considered second in command now. So Bob walked into the building that once belonged to Jake with his documents and the lawyer that had helped him acquire the firm, who Jake was familiar with. Bob walked into Jake's office to Jake's surprise. "Hi Bob." "Hi Jake, how are you?" "I'm good. What are you doing here?" "Oh, nothing much. Just thought I'd come check out my newly acquired business." "Ah, Jake, you sold your company to me." "I did what?" "No, I didn't. I sold it to XYZ. XYZ is the law firm I hired to organize the transaction. I'm now the owner." "That's bullcrap. Here's the documents." Lawyer who Jake was familiar with confirmed this was all true. "So you're now my boss?" "Yes. Now get up. That's my chair, and I'm tired. I wanna sit down for a minute. This is my office. This is my company, and I have decided that this office is now my office, so I'm going to need you to get out of my chair." Jake gets out of chair. "Great. Well, have a sit, Jake." "Thanks." "Jake, I think the first order of business today is getting rid of redundancies." "What do you mean?" "Well, you see, Jake, whenever a company acquires another company you get overlap, redundancies. 2 HR departments, 2 secretaries, 2 accountants, etc. But now it's all one company, so now you got redundancies, overlaps, which is quite frankly a waste of money. Yay. And I don't need 2 owners working for one company." And he laughs and tells me he had the biggest crap-eating grin on his face. "Jake, it's become apparent that your services are no longer required, and effective immediately you are terminated." Protested. "The decision is final. You may collect your personal belongings and leave the premises." "What time did you get to work this morning?" 7 a.m. "Great. So you've been here for 2 hours. I'll make sure payroll pays you out for 2 hours on the agreed upon rate in the buyout agreement. Have a nice day. So you're just firing me? Just like that? Yup, should have done this long ago. What about my family? Jake, I just bought your company from you and paid you a lot of money. You'll be fine. Now get out of my office and out of my building. And that is how Bob acquired and fired an employee he should have fired long before. Some background. I remember the day vividly when Bob scheduled an appointment with me to go over Company B services and negotiate a new service contract with us. It was the day Bob had fired Jake. Bob was in a great mood. One of the best moods ever. We did the business we needed to handle, and Bob Band said, PJ, you helped me out, get this all done. I'd like to invite you out to dinner and drinks and let's watch Monday Night Football together. I really hadn't. I said, Bob, I really didn't do much. He said, oh yes you did. You pointed me in the right direction. I go, well that's the least I could do. He said, very well. Still like to take you out to dinner and drinks if that's alright with you. Now I'm not one to turn down free beer and food, so I agreed. And that night Bob and I went to a local hangout and watched Monday Night Football and ate and drank beer as Bob recounted this whole experience with such joy. Bob later branded Jake's company as a commercial-only enterprise and accused his main company on residential, and both companies still exist today and ran by Bob and Son now. Thanks for watching. This will be a weekly r/ProRevenge video with 3 or more stories to diversify the topics. If you've enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe, share and comment. What topic do you want me to cover next? Have a great day and stay safe. Peace.